I know we touched on the cost of financing the campaigns, but I want to also talk about the cost of administering this. What's the name of the board that's going to oversee and audit the expense of money?
It's called the Fair Elections Board, and it's a new unit within the current State Board of Elections.
Okay. And for a lot of purposes, this would be similar to the New York City Campaign Finance Board, although it would not be a separate agency, but rather under the umbrella of the State Board of Elections?
Correct.
How many employees would this agency have?
Probably between 8 and 12.
How many employees does the New York City Campaign Finance Board have full-time?
I don't know that.
89. 89 employees to audit and oversee a system which administers funds for 51 legislative seats, 5 borough president seats, and 3 citywide elected office seats, 59 seats. How much money would it cost to operate these salaries?
Well, as I said earlier, what we're doing is only one race next year. So certainly the number of people who would be at that unit, I would think, would be sufficient to oversee that one race. In the following period, there might be a need, since all of the Senate seats and all of the Assembly seats would be up, there might be a need to hire additional people if they see that they won't be able to do their job.
I can say that. I would venture to say there's a lot. So for 59 elections that the New York City CFB oversees in 4-year cycles, we have 216 seats that are up, well, 213 that are up every 2 years, and 3 that are up every 4 years. So
Correct.
in total, we have 430 seats, or 430 elections every 4 years in the state.
That's right, but our bill doesn't expand to that until 2018.
I know, I'm just forewarning everyone.
Yes.
So if you did the math, and it took 89 employees to regulate 59 seats, and we may potentially have 430 seats, how many employees and how much money do you think we'd end up with?
I couldn't even begin to estimate, but I will have to tell you that now what we have is a State Board of Elections who's in charge of the whole operation, not the public financing. And as my colleague to my right said, they do a job, and maybe they need more assistance. This would be a brand new unit, and that's the only thing that they would do. They would not be in charge of anything else.
Well, I agree. New York City has also its own Board of Elections, and it also has the Campaign Finance Board.
Correct.
From my estimation, it would take 623 employees at an annual salaries of $49 million, and then, of course, all the office space and whatever else is necessary.
And there's nothing in this current piece of legislation that would preclude this new unit from tapping resources within the Board of Elections as it is now. They have space. They have people who work there. They could use those resources as well.
Okay. Just to change the topic a bit, in terms of lobbyists, in New York City campaign finance law, lobbyists and those doing business with the city are limited to a $250 threshold. Is there a similar threshold for this?
There is a $2,000 threshold for lobbyists for state elections.
Okay, so the threshold for lobbyists is the same as it would be for anyone else contributing to someone who participates in the public finance system?
Correct.
Okay. Are you
as
aware?
long as it's an individual contribution.
Okay.
Couldn't be an LLC or something like that.
Sure. Are you aware that 29 firms that were paid by campaigns in last cycle are also registered lobbyists with the state?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Maybe you hired them, you know, a lot of us do. But so 29 firms that do campaign consulting are also registered lobbyists within the state of New York. If they charge, say, $10,000 and they do a favor for someone because they have a great relationship with you or whatever the case may be. If their standard rate for an assembly race is $10,000 and they do it for you on a favor for $5,000, is that a tangible benefit to you as a candidate?
They can't do more than $2,000. That's part of this bill.
But this
they
isn't a
couldn't
donation.
do 5, they only could do 2.
This wouldn't be a donation. This would be a fee that they normally charge for a race would be, say, $10,000. I'm using hypotheticals.
Well,
instead,
it would have to be, again, it would have to be fair market rate. Whatever the candidate could get on the fair market, that would be allowable.
But is that in the bill?
Yes, it's in the bill.
Okay. So a person who does any type of favor as a consultant for a candidate would have to somehow disclose if they went below the fair market rate?
You can't use public financing if it's less than fair market value. You won't be allowed to do that under this bill.
I don't follow, but okay. Did you look at any other states that implement public financing in crafting this legislation?
We did look at 2 states. One is Connecticut and one is Arizona, and they have at least currently demonstrated that it works very well in those 2 states.
Okay.
Two very different states.
I looked at Arizona also, and would you say it does a good job of regulating corruption there?
I couldn't speak to that.
If I were to tell you that there are 13 people, state legislators, currently under indictment or investigation for misusing $1.5 million in taxpayer money, would that indicate it's working?
Well, it would indicate that whatever their unit of investigation seems to be doing a current and thorough job. It doesn't mean that all of those individuals will be found guilty of what they're charged with. But since I don't know what the charge was, I can't speak to it.
I agree with you. I hope they're not guilty.
Me too.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I see a lot of policy come before this chamber, and I oftentimes disagree with it, but at the very least acknowledge, understand, and respect the logic behind it. With this particular problem and the problem that plagued us with corruption recently, I can't understand how the solution to bad money in politics might necessarily be now more money in politics. Recently, we see 3 legislators under indictment for, at least in part, manipulating either the campaign finance laws or the public finance system to suit their needs. Additionally, last week we had 2 convictions of people who outright abused the public finance system to cheat the taxpayers of New York City out of X number of dollars. The question I have really is to the public who might be listening on television. What have the members of this body, what have the members of any other legislative body in this state done to deserve more of your money to be used however we see fit in nothing more than our own self-edification? I don't think we deserve it. I don't think the public deserves public financing. I'll vote no, and I urge everyone to vote the same way. Thank you.